Hey guys, this is Zora. Welcome back to more Great Ace Attorney Adventures. I was about to say Chronicles, they're both the same thing. Regardless, last time we were talking to the witnesses about how, seeing the exact moment of the murder, which turns out they really didn't. Neither of them did. So now they are telling us about us, as in Ryunosuke Naruhodo, as in the black-clothed cadet, or whatever the heck he knows that told us. But yeah, right now we are in cross-examination mode. So I just need to kind of go through what I saw, what they were saying, to see if there's any discrepancy. So they did see that we were holding a gun, but that's pretty much it. Visual search of the premise at the time confirmed there is only that we were the only personnel present. Indeed, alone he was the Englishman. So, granted, I think in this game, because they were doing it in some of the earlier Ace Attorney games, if you do get stuck, there will be a prompt being like, we can consult with Asagi about this, but I think I should be fine. So right now, they are all saying that he was very much alone. The only way for me to go and do the court record is to do present. Don't accidentally present. Don't do that. So let's take a look at some of our evidence here. So this is a picture of the dining table, and as you can see, there's one set of cutleries, one plate, one wine glass, and a bottle of wine right there. This one shows basically the same thing, so it's hard to say that that could be conclusive. This one, on the other hand, was self-written, so I'm not too sure if we can really use this for anything. At the moment, there doesn't seem to be anything that could help show that there is another person at the table. Unfortunately, we cannot switch over to people at this time. So when in doubt, there's also a history button that I forgot to mention. So if you happen to miss any sort of details, or you need a refresher of what's going on, this basically has the entire log for, I think, okay, maybe not the entire log, but it has a good majority of the log that's necessary. So that's good for us. And then options just basically has all this going back to title screen, and you can save! And that's what I'm doing for each of these separate recordings. So right now I don't really see anything off the bat. This is not the same thing. Don't actually do this in the court of law. You have to be very sure about your choice of words. Let's see. So we're gonna go ahead and start pressing their comments to see if we can get more information out of this. Actually, in fact, if I go to the very end, we can actually talk with Asagi, and he can give us hints on what exactly can we start looking for in a cross-examination. What do you think, Ryunosuke? Oh. What's the matter? I can't find anything. I can't find a clear discrepancy anywhere. I'm done for. I can't win this trial. No. No, no, no. Listen. The first thing to do is calm down. You can't expect witness statements to be full of holes every time. So just take your time and try to tease more information out of them first. What do you mean? You can choose to either press or present against each of the witness statements. If a witness is saying something you're suspicious about, press him on with L. With a little luck, you may get more details, which could prove to be crucial. Right. I see. The important point is, there's no sense in holding back. If anything even slightly jars with you, press the witnesses on it and press them hard. Alright, got it. I'll press them like blocks of tofu. Blocks of tofu. The professor wasn't alone in the restaurant, I'm sure of it. In one way or another, this cross-examination is going to prove I'm right. It's time to press them for all they're worth. My fate depends on it. So normally, when I'm doing these playthrough of the games, I try to kind of scrutinize and show as much as I can. Not to the like littlest of details, but a lot of things that could be missed by people. In this case, I don't think it's gonna be very productive doing that, in my case. So I'm just gonna point out things that I think are suspicious and go with that mindset. Because I'm the one playing the game! You must have noticed something else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there!
Objection!
As you have been at pains to point out time and time again, I feel I'm growing a callus in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman.
If only there'd been more people dining there at the time, then someone else would have noticed her. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when it happened. The quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. I know, of course the place was almost empty. It's what you expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of a time to eat. You have... I was about to come up with something, but I'm blanking out. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eaten at that time of day and why he was alone.
Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason.
There was?
This was found in the victim's jacket pocket.
What is that, Counsel?
It is a medical report card, Your Excellency. You thought school report cards were just as bad, but this is even worse.
Okay, I'll stop.
It would seem that the victim had an appointment at the clinic prior to visiting the restaurant.
Hot a clinic. Yes, there would indeed appear to be an entry for the date in question. For those of you who played any of the other original 3 Ace Attorney games, this name would be very familiar. 19th November, noon to past 1 p.m. The very day of the incident.
So the victim went for a late lunch following his appointment. The explanation could be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really had no bearing in the case.
Bullcrap! I wonder. What do you think, Ryunosuke? Well, it is hard to see how it could be relevant, really. Remember, you can request for it to be entered into the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful. Should I ask for Dr. Wilson's report card to be submitted as evidence? Yeah. Get all the information you can get. If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report to... I would like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency.
On what grounds?
The
court has already heard conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be
extraneous?
Extraneous! Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern.
Objection!
Whether or not they are of concern is up to us to decide. We have a right to explore all possible avenues.
I beg your pardon?
You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request.
Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's a most disturbing trend.
Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record. Please tell me this actually has something useful. What we need right now is new clues. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. Right, I hear you.
You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival already for you. Or perhaps you've forgotten that these witness testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, korekuta-sama.
Korekuta-san. Wrong suffix. Wrong honorifics. Oh boy. Alright, so, hang on. we are gonna take a look at this medicinal report. I said, can we not take it? Why won't you let me take a look? Well, that's a load of baloney. Okay, whatever. That didn't really help us right now.
Yes!
Let's dig for more information. So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you? The victim, Dr. Wilson, dining alone.
That I did. Forgive me for the position I placed you in. So the testimonies of the old man, the soldier, and the waiter all agree on that point. Isn't that interesting? And let us not forget the incontestable evidence we have to support their statements as well. As can clearly be seen, there is only a single beef steak on the victim's table, a meal for one.
That looks really, I really want to eat that right now. No. The antique dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible that they're all lying. But if so, then why? If I'm perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea. Alright, so this one... No one other than me can dispatch it. Maybe, I don't know. Something about him is striking me off, so I'm gonna press... I might need to press all 5 statements, to be honest. Yes, it may be true that I was holding the gun at that point in time. But I told you already! That's only because I picked it up off the floor!
Well, obviously, as a culprit, that's the only way you could have explained it away.
I just finished drinking my coffee and I was about to leave the restaurant when... I noticed a gun on the floor at Dr. Wilson's feet, so I picked it up. And at exactly that moment... a gunshot rang in my ears.
Full of events beyond our control, life is.
Sorry? What do you mean?
In your case, you found a pistol on the floor and picked it up, which precipitated this testing predicament. Whereas conversely, I failed to pick up the koban from the floor and find myself in an equally testing predicament as a result. Anyway, the fact remains, myself, I did see you. With pistol in hand, standing over the foreigner.
Oh god, none of this is helping. What I need is additional testimony of some sort. Why? I don't think that first statement is necessary, but let me press this last one then.
Yes!
Why aren't you telling the truth?
What did you say, cadet?
I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed. But for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Unfortunately for you, Defendant Naruhodo, it's not just a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter, whose testimony the court heard earlier, clearly stated the same thing. He also said that the victim was alone. That's right.
Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. But if such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It's a blatant waste of the court's time.
There's nothing I can say to that. Seriously though, what is that laugh supposed to be? Excellent work, Yurasaki. We've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medicinal report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. How exactly? You'll notice that some piece of evidence bears a magnifying glass. These are the ones you may examine. Press A, and you can take a closer look at the piece in question. Use the right stick to rotate the evidence in all directions and examine it. So this is what I was trying to do before. Anyone who's played Ace Attorney knows that this is a thing that you can do. But for whatever reason, I can't remember. It's gonna be on the screen right now, but I don't think this game was the first 3D Ace Attorney game that was Duel's Destiny. But for whatever reason, it locks behind these abilities unless you get into the situation. So I couldn't examine that stupid report until I pressed the people enough, got to the end, and had this report in hand. It's dumb, it's stupid, I know. I'm not defending this feature right here. But yeah, as he's saying right there, some of the evidence we can actually like examine, like properly examine, instead of, hey, we have a magnifying glass to just enhance the picture. So we'll just kind of go ahead and scrutinize this report as much as we can. If the crosshairs start to pulsate, however, you can use that to investigate even further. I think in the older games, they didn't do that as it's not obvious that this was a key point to look at, so you just kind of had to guess and choose. So, I don't think he's gonna let me, oh no, he's gonna let me go further. Before I go back to that testimony, I might as well get this. Never mind, he doesn't want me to do it until he's done talking. Suki, why are you like this? Yes, I understand. This is how we, okay, it just forces me in here. So, fortunately, I didn't actually know how they were gonna do this, if they weren't gonna translate everything to English, but, yeah. This is the report card, and this is the translation for it. Whether or not it's accurate is beside the point. Required for every visit. This is the name, this is the Hada Clinic, so let me investigate this. It says Hada Clinic on this medical report card. I hate clinics, almost as much as I hate hospitals and surgeries. There's also really neat flavor text when you do these investigations, so I suggest that you try to do any sort of exploration with this. Aren't they all the same? When I was 5, I caught the only cold I ever had in my life. And I remember, even though I felt awful already, I have to have this hideous injection in my right arm. Brr. I'll never forget it, never in my whole life. Most people would give their right arm to have only one cold in their whole life. Anyway, I don't think this is a clinic where they treat people for illnesses like that. Let's keep looking for clues. We don't want to miss anything. Really though, only having one cold for your entire life? And you know what, given the fact that I also don't like needles, it's not that I absolutely detest and am afraid of them, but it hurts. I can feel the pain of it and everything. Ooh, hello. There's the record number. Look at that symbol there, and look. Can we use this to open it up? And that we can. I really would want to straighten that. But, yeah, we can see these details. Let's have a look. This is some kind of medical history. Ah, and there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? It would seem so. Just before the incident, he had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they used laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. I honestly never had that done to me. I was always put under anesthesia, so this still kind of terrifies me. I'm like, Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. Although it's hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you feeling pain. Ah, there's a cautionary notice from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure. Until words are not the easiest thing. Until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. Yes, and this is exactly what I was freaking looking for. If you haven't gatekeeped it away from me. This new information. The meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. So, I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely!